Stop. Stop. Cut it out. Knock it off. What, do you want me to say it in Japanese? Yamero. Stop what, you ask? Stop allowing these motherfuckers to claim they are not racist. Will Jordan is a racist. Will's goal with many of his film reviews is to galvanize his mostly male, mostly white, and mostly straight audience around the idea that they are being attacked for being those three things. You do this often enough, and the audience will begin to believe it. In my last video, I showed a tweet by Drinker that I thought made it painfully obvious what his positions on black people in the media were. What I didn't account for was the insane mental gymnastics people would perform in order to deny that his post was racist in nature. So here's a tweet from a different person. If you're unfamiliar, this person is Nick Fuentes, a proud white supremacist. Sounds contradictory, I know, what with being a Mexican and having a name like Fuentes while being a white supremacist, but no one ever said white supremacists were intelligent. The point is, doesn't this tweet seem to be placing emphasis on a specific character in the Minecraft movie? I mean, now that I've told you this person is a white supremacist, it's obvious what his issue is, isn't it? So I'll ask again, what do you honestly think Will's problem with this image was? Do you really believe he's this upset about Jason Momoa's character here? But how does cynical grifter not know this woman was the best person for the job? I'm not naive. I understand the answer to that question will be more euphemisms and conspiracy theories like DEI, but that's not an answer to my question. I'm asking, how does he know? Why can't she be the Mace Windu and Lando Calrissian of this movie? What this person does is not honest critique. He looks for ways he can jimmy in alt-right political talking points under the guise of being a movie reviewer. Of course, he'll never come out and say, I don't want to see black people in lead roles, or I'm tired of female protagonists, like The Quartering stupidly did. It's because being that he's selling something, he has something to lose, so he has to communicate in dog whistles to maintain the facade of plausible deniability. These people and their orbiters exemplify everything this series is meant to combat. Farming and harvesting outrage, whining about women in basically any piece of media they appear in, pretending they are fans or former fans of the things they incessantly cry about. And racism. But the pussy kind of racism that the KKK employ, you know, hiding under bed sheets so they can live their lives in peace during the day while terrorizing black people at night. That's what these people do, only they've modernized the Klan tactics, hiding their racism behind hilariously weak media critiques that could have come from a Cracker Jack box.
You're a real boring fuck. Sorry, I know that you disapprove of swearing, so I'll sort that out. You are a boring F*** cunt.
Now when you hear comparisons to Yahtzees, the Klan, let me ask, do you think of someone like Critical Drinker? And do you think his videos and tweets are the actions of those types of people? And I'm sure Birdshit is going to say he is just making comparisons and not actually accusing Drinker and his fans of being Yahtzees or part of the Klan, which is a bitch move. You know exactly what you're doing, which is funny because this is the guy who tries to say this with a straight face.
I think I need to put my cards on the table. Firstly, I am not a political type. I rarely, if ever, bring up politics, and when I do, it's usually to make fun of them, left or right. For this behavior, I have been routinely called right-wing and left-wing by people who make politics their entire identity. My position is that political folk are mirror images of each other participating in the Spider-Man meme, where they blame each other for doing exactly what they themselves are doing, something the Drinker is heavily guilty of. I think it's silly to adhere to political sides because at some point in time, you're going to have to defend nonsense to maintain the integrity of being on that side. The only side I'm on is reason, logic, facts, science, and math. So believe me, when I criticize this very obviously right-wing chud, I'm doing so out of the spirit and integrity of unbiased media discourse, which is something I care about deeply. And speaking of what words mean, I seriously tire of you people using the word woke. Woke does not mean diversity and people that promote diversity. Woke is Black American slang. It is a corruption of the word awake, and that being the case, it means being aware. You know, like when you're awake. More specifically, it means being aware of racial prejudice and discrimination, and was coined by Black Americans in the 1930s, back when racism was as open in public as it is on Twitter today. So you see, being that you people believe you are pointing out discrimination against white people, technically, you are woke. And because you're speaking Ebonics, you are literally that which you hate. Congratulations, you played yourselves. And I can see the parrots getting ready to type words to the effect of, well, words change and can mean different things. Interestingly, these are the same people that don't want the word woman to refer to trans women and say that words like cis don't mean anything. And look, I'm not a trans activist, so this is not my fight, but it is a bit of amusing cognitive dissonance, wouldn't you say?
Right.
Yet pose the exact same bitch-made leftist tactics, which is to cry racist at the drop of a hat. So first, before answering the question, is Critical Drinker a racist? First, I want to start off by saying, one of the problems with the term racist is, it's such a broad term. Like that term both describes someone who said I got gypped, or Indian giver, or moves to the other side of the street when a minority is coming from the opposite direction, or Michael Richards who screamed the N-word repeatedly at a comedy show.
I hear this guy's hilarious. He played Kramer, you know.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Or a member of the Klan who actually lynched someone. Do you see what I'm getting at? All those people are racists. Which not only does it bring to mind the Incredibles quote, if everyone is special, no one is. Because under that rubric, just about everyone would be considered racist. You're telling me Birdman, or any of these progressives that make the same accusations, hasn't done anything that would be considered racist?
And newsflash, Black people kinda like hip-hop. Well, real Black people and not the trash pandas that you know.
You claim to be against slavery, but yet you want the state to confiscate fruits of labor and it's baked to me.
What I'm saying is, Birdman is a racist.
I get the real feeling listening to these NPCs that they barely, if ever, interact with people of different political persuasions in real life. And I would bet good money Birdman doesn't have a single friend that isn't on the left, which I think is the case with a lot of these lefty types. They're in a bubble. They don't know or speak with people of different political alignments, and they mostly consume progressive content. They're not used to non-PC progressives talking. So when Drinker calls someone a DEI hire, or calls the acolyte woke trash, they lose their minds. Which is why they immediately jump to conclusions when listening to Critical Drinker, and call him a shallow racist conservative chud, even though Drinker has not expressly said where he aligns politically, which is curious, because people like Birdman will say that Drinker and his audience are dumb racists.
The point that I'm making is about media grifters, and they typically are straight white men, and these people have an issue with things that are not straight white men. So queer people, people of color, women.
See, you can't not do it. I don't have a problem with straight white men. I'm just saying they're the ones who do the bad things, typically. They're the ones who have a problem with other people, not me. Behold my data and my science.
As you can see, this is Will claiming that Black people are here not because they are good at their jobs, but because their presence is mandated by the ever-nebulous they. I wonder who they are, Will. Your nationalist socialist followers might say the Jews, but then I'd have to show them that you think Jews are white people, as evidenced by this image. Whatever else could he be communicating here, I wonder?
And yet the best they can do is pull up tweets and videos that they have to read between the lines to call him an idiot racist who is also conservative, which the person you're describing, if they really are so dumb racist and conservative, wouldn't they be loud and proud about it? Or at the very least, wouldn't they clearly and without ambiguity out themselves? I mean, how many videos, live stream, podcasts, and tweets has he made over the last decade? And you're telling me this drunken conservative dumbass Yahtzee has yet to definitively reveal what kind of racist piece of shit he is. Why, it's almost like the Occam's razor explanation is he isn't racist, and the Occam's razor on you is that you're a massive clout-chasing, jealous, seething woke pussy who wants so desperately to get into Hollywood he has to prostrate himself and suck off garbage like a Minecraft movie, Snow White, Captain America, A Brave New World, Borderlands, The Flash, The Little Mermaid, Ant-Man 3, Black Panther 2, Thor Love and Thunder, Multiverse of Madness, Matrix 4, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi, Black Widow, Widow, Cruella Army of the Dead Mulan, Birds of Prey Rise of Skywalker, and The Justice League. That's right, he's recommended all of these films.
A human.
And also said in his Snow White review that he liked Aladdin and Mufasa. I mean, there's a reason his reviews only get a fraction of the views of his CinemaSins videos, as well as his grifter videos, which means even his audience thinks his taste sucks. I can't think of any professional in quotes reviewer with worse taste than that, and you can cry and cope and seethe, and point to Rotten Tomatoes, as if it's supposed to validate that your taste isn't garbage. I wonder what Birdman thinks of Quentin Tarantino, and Martin Scorsese taking dumps on modern Hollywood.
So there has become a thing that's gone on, it seems like in this, especially this last year, where ideology is more important than art.
Way more, certainly to the awards.
Yeah. And it's just, it's like, ideology trumps art. Ideology trumps individual effort. Ideology trumps good. Ideology trumps entertaining.
There's two kinds of movies, virtue signalers and superhero movies.
Yeah. And then, to me, it's one of the worst decades in Hollywood is the 50s. And then the 60s, pretty much from like 1960 to 1966, was the 50s part 2. Right. But then what we think of as the 60s starts in about 67, and that's when New Hollywood comes out. Yeah. And that's an absolute positive response to the homogenized 50s.
So it's going to come back again.
Okay, and then it goes into the 70s, but then we went into the 80s.
All right.
And that's why you came up with Politically Incorrect, because that was the first, this is basically the 80s part 2, what we're living through right now.
Yeah, I'm going to lean with them over the types of reviewers that are certified on Rotten Tomatoes. But let's get back to Drinker, who whenever I bring up all the diverse media he's recommended, such as Arcane, Blue-Eyed Samurai, Kingdom, Squid Game, All of Us Are Dead, Blade, Sinners, Shogun, Predator, The Expanse, The Whale, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Godzilla -1, the first seasons of Last of Us and The Boys, Andor, Prey, Independence Day, Bad Boys 3 and 4, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, RRR, Firefly, and Into and Across the Spider-Verse, Dungeons and Dragons, Alita Battle Angel, Gran Turismo, Terminator Zero, Attack on Titan, The Descent, Fall, The Queen's Gambit, The Long Kiss Goodnight, Jojo Rabbit, Edge of Tomorrow, and Courage Under Fire. It's like these types' brains short circuit and they black out, and then act like this doesn't completely break their stupid narrative. So he's a racist, but he recommends all this so-called diverse media. It's almost like 1, he isn't a racist, and 2, you have a fundamental misunderstanding of what the anti-woke have a problem with. We don't like woke media because there are politics or messages or minorities in them. We hate them because the politics, messages, and minorities are forced. That's the part we have a problem with. Woke entertainment is when the message matters more than the art, when the creatives care more about preaching and pandering than they care about telling a compelling story. Again, it's forced, which is the thing progressive like to leave out or pretend doesn't exist. For example, so when they killed John Connor in the opening of Terminator Dark Fate and replaced him with the tiny Hispanic woman, and made the Protector an androgynous looking woman, and replaced the T-1000 with a Hispanic Terminator, and turned Arnold into a Draper that is a non-sexual partner, and turned Sarah Connor into a bitter old hag, who is mad that she was just a womb for John Connor. You're telling me those messages are not forced? Or when they turned Doctor Who into a woman after decades of being a white man, with an unknown sexuality, then turn him back to a man, but now he's black and gay, or turn Kenobi, Indiana Jones, and Picard into pathetic old men, or kill off James Bond, or kill off Luke Skywalker, or kill off Han Solo, or kill off Joel Miller. We're not supposed to think DEI really just means non-straight white people.
There have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but
how would they say it?
There's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Like straight to you, or okay?
They'd be very careful how they message that to agents. We wanted to hire somebody in the department a few years ago now, who was half black, but didn't appear half black. And there was a creative executive who was like, "We're not that's not what's wrong."
Apparently, Doctor Strange was supposed to be communicating with Wanda via the commercials that were seen throughout the show, like the Toastmate scene in episode 1 and the Strucker Watch scene in episode 2. We all saw these commercials. We were wondering, why is this? Never really got explained. You want to know why it didn't get explained? Because it got cut. Because Doctor Strange was supposed to be the one communicating with her, but Doctor Strange got cut out because they didn't want a white male teaching Wanda anything. Strange was cut from the show, and Feige explained why. He stated, some people might say, oh, it would have been cool to see Doctor Strange, but it would have taken away from Wanda. We didn't want the end of the show to be commoditized to go into the next movie. Here's the white guy. Let me show you how power works, he added. This is straight from the mouth of Kevin Feige.
You now make a point of, that's an investment criteria for you.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year, and what we are doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted, okay?
We're doing the same thing.
And so it's just, you have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team,
Come on, man. You look ridiculous. Trying to say with a straight face they're not forcing this shit, or that Drinker is racist for talking about wokeness in media. Yet I don't hear you talking about woke reviewers talk about race, or bread tubers. I mean, since you're apolitical and you think both the right and the left both say things that are wrong and bullshit, where's the balance? Oh wait, you put up some curated tweets. That's supposed to prove you're unbiased, and that you attack both sides. Which first off, I would love to see the percentage breakdown of right versus left criticism, because I'm sure it would be close to 50-50. Two, just because you criticize both sides, that doesn't make you unbiased and apolitical. I made videos criticizing Melanie Mack, Nick Rocada, Camelot, Ethan Van Sciver, hell, even Critical Drinker. And guess what? I'm not unbiased nor apolitical. Also, that seems to be very similar to what you accuse Drinker of doing.
But do you notice something missing? Like one of the biggest movies of the year, the only one out in true IMAX that is receiving rave reviews from the critics? Yeah, I noticed that too. At nearly a week old, none of these people seem to have a review out for Sinners, and while I'm sure they will eventually get around to it, it's kind of telling that these are the only media reviewers who haven't seen and reviewed the best reviewed film of the year. I wonder why you think that is.
So Drinker didn't review Sinners because it hurts his narrative, but you not making anti-grifter videos on left-wing grifters because it doesn't hurt your narrative? Or are you saying there are no left-wing grifters? Yeah, that doesn't seem biased at all. Also, he didn't review Sinners because he doesn't like Ryan's other films and wasn't expecting the film to be the big hit it was. So by the time he saw it, he thought he'd missed his window to review it. So he recommended it on Open Bar and X. And he only reviewed it when his audience demanded it, because racists would be convinced into recommending a film. Jesus, what kind of racist do you know? Just admit you're mad at losing the culture war. Because if the majority of this country was on your side, your little ploy to tar and feather him would work. But it hasn't. After all your little hit pieces, guess what all that happened? Is you and your little band of progressive pussies have enjoyed the Cope Fest and Circle Jerk. Or at the very least that this is just a hit piece. Because you don't like Drinker and the anti-woke. And you're mad that most people don't like the slop you like. And not because you give two shits about the truth and the state of criticism. So you appeal to the people who also hate anti-woke YouTubers, which will help you grow. Unfortunately, your side is the overly sensitive ones. And guess what? Just like Ethan Klein, eventually you're gonna say the wrong thing, and they're gonna try to cancel you, because that's what they do. Normal people talk shit to each other, but these types want to ruin people. So good luck with that. Also, before I go, one question. So you're telling me if Hollywood was conservative, so basically flip the script on the status quo, you're telling me Birdman and his ilk wouldn't complain and talk about the problems with conservative media?
I'm not a pussy. I can handle words. I can handle people disagreeing with me. I can handle politics that I don't agree with. You can't.
Interesting, because this was you 10 minutes ago.
The purpose of the series is to call out those people who make it difficult to talk about film. My position is this: keep it out of media discourse.
As you have already outlined, your purpose and your position is stop saying these things. It makes it difficult for me.
I'm a pussy.